When I opened my eyes, I found myself back in my wife's high school days. But this time, I've made up my mind to live differently. All I want is to be a quiet observer, to watch her embrace the person who should shine with brilliance and belong to her. Even if I don't exist in that beautiful moment, I am more than willing. Ding, 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 the class bell rang. The sound was crisp and loud, piercing through the entire campus in an instant. The previously noisy atmosphere was instantly subdued by this bell. Everything returned to silence. High school days are just like this. The brief moments of relaxation during breaks vanish in the blink of an eye. The corridors of the teaching building gradually lost their figures. The air was filled with a scent of preparing to dive into the sea of knowledge. The chaotic footsteps of students earlier and the sounds of quiet conversations seemed to have been smoothed out by something. They all merged into a stream of people, quietly returning to their classrooms. I was curled up in the corner of the last row. This spot is pretty much like being sent to the frontier. No one really cared about me being here. My eyes never left the doorway. I was fixated on the girl who just walked in. Her name is Lu Ruyan. That's a nice name, isn't it? Hee hee. I just realized my mouth was unconsciously curling into a smile. It was the kind of standard love-struck grin. I slapped my own left cheek. She wore a pair of lightweight glasses on her nose. Those eyes behind the lenses looked a bit tired. There were dark circles under her eyes. No need to think. It was clear she stayed up late studying again last night. Among a crowd of students, all wearing identical uniforms, she was actually quite unremarkable. But this girl, who seems lost in the crowd, is actually the renowned top student in our grade. She holds the title of the first in science for the year. He has been sitting for 3 years. That is my future wife. No, I'm back now. His life trajectory will be completely different. He will become a shining star in the field of aerospace, or a respected professor in the field of physics. Maybe one can be as renowned as a figure like Hawking, but she will absolutely never be my wife again. It definitely won't have anything to do with someone like me. The seats are almost fully occupied. I reluctantly took one last glance at him. Then she withdrew her gaze. Untie the long-sleeved school uniform that is fastened around the waist. Dressed neatly and properly, the class teacher hurriedly entered the classroom with a stack of papers. The expression is quite serious. The classmates are having a surprise quiz. The emotionless voice of the old class broke the silence in the classroom. The students below immediately erupted in excitement, but I could only quietly complain a little. Then I resignedly started flipping through my pens and paper. My brows couldn't help but twitch. My heart felt so heavy. To be honest, if I could relive my student days, this is the most annoying part. A small test every 2 days and a big test every 3 days. I silently sighed to myself. I tossed that book, cleaner than my face, carelessly onto the floor to my left. Among the pile of books stacked up, I had a hard time digging this textbook out from the pile, only to find it was completely useless. Teacher Lu Ruyan called out my name. Lu Ruyan stood up as usual. She walked to the podium and took the stack of papers from the homeroom teacher. She counted them and then started handing them out to the students in the front row. After distributing, she patted her clothes, then sat back down straight into her seat. Her back was as straight as a ruler. I tore off a sheet of draft paper from the top of the book and pressed it under my right hand. Most of the faces in the classroom were filled with worry. Only Lu Ruyan and I wore the same calm expression. Hers was confidence in her own abilities, while mine was purely the knowledge of what score I would get. You can't expect a slacker who graduated years ago to solve a math paper, can you? Especially since it's a math paper. A faint rustling of paper filled the classroom. Lu Ruyan took the paper from the desk in front of her, listening to the top student say, "Let me absorb some of your genius energy." She just smiled slightly. When he lifted his elbow, the sleeve of his school uniform slid down. A small, glaringly white hand was exposed. It wasn't until the rustling of papers got closer to me that I realized I had been staring at Lu Ruyan again. I couldn't help but slap my own right cheek again. The sting on my face finally forced me to tear my gaze away from the memories of that year. I raised my head and glanced at the progress of the test papers. It seemed like it was almost my turn. I sat a good distance from the shoulder of the desk in front of me. Next to me, 2 fingers stretched out. I looked at the burn scar on the index finger. I instinctively fished around in my pocket. Sure enough, I pulled out a lighter and half a pack of cigarettes. Sigh. In my past life, I didn't learn any proper knowledge in school, but I sure picked up a lot of bad habits. The test papers were still being passed around chaotically, but to my surprise, the person in front of me turned around. In a very soft voice, they said they were out. After saying that, they immediately turned back and started to focus intensely on the questions. What the hell, they're out. This is just great. Only a fool would want to write this stuff. Hee hee. I hadn't even been happy for a few seconds when I felt the teacher's gaze casually sweep over to my side. As soon as he noticed my desk was empty, his brows furrowed instantly. His face, which already looked troubled, now appeared even more serious. It made me want to go help him, smooth out those wrinkles. But then I remembered how in his lifetime, he made a fortune from stock trading, and later walked around with an air of confidence. So I dismissed that thought. Let him frown for now. After all, he won't have many years left to curse. Soon, there won't be anything to trouble him anymore. I raised the corners of my mouth and gave her a bright, sunny smile like a cheerful boy, but I found his brows furrowing even tighter. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. My smile instantly faded, but surprisingly, her expression returned to normal right away, as if she sighed in relief. What are you up to? In my last life, I was at most someone who didn't like studying. I haven't done anything outrageous either. At best, it's just taking away his most cherished possession. I just got the top student to like me. Thinking of this, my enthusiasm immediately faded. The head also drooped down. With drooping eyelids, Lu Ruyan, I will never have anything to do with a worthless person like me in this lifetime again. I'm here alone feeling emo, healing from my sorrows of spring and autumn. Suddenly, an unexpected guest appeared before us. A blank paper is giving me a headache. I looked up along that calloused finger on the middle finger. Exactly matched the pair of emotionless eyes of Lu Ruyan. You write this first, and then I'll ask for a copy. She has a high ponytail sweeping across the back of her neck, slightly lowering her head. The drooping eyelashes resemble the wings of a butterfly. My heart trembled violently. The hand that was originally supporting the head unconsciously dropped down. I finally remembered when exactly I was reborn. It is Lu Ruyan this time that is directed towards anyone. The kindness that classmates show to each other equally. It has opened the fateful connection from our past life. I borrowed this test paper in my previous life, then scribble something on top. My mind is filled with the name Lu Ruyan. Later, Lu Ruyan was really taken by me. A good-for-nothing who lacks knowledge has wasted time. Just as he was about to turn and walk away, I suddenly stood up, made a choice completely opposite to the last life. I grabbed that test paper and handed it back to him directly. I accidentally touched her palm, and it was really soft. It's exactly the same as when I touched it in my previous life. I scoffed dismissively. A hand is tucked into a pocket, avoiding Lu Ruyan's astonished gaze. Then, he provocatively looked up at the old teacher on the podium. Anyway, I won't write it either. I'm too lazy to write, so I'll just throw this sentence out there casually. Because the noise was quite significant. Many students who are deeply engrossed in their studies have turned around to sneak a peek at me. People like me and this group of honest and earnest good students. They are completely from two different worlds. But this kind of incongruity is precisely what it means for them. On the contrary, it has a kind of inexplicable allure. So even though I performed terribly in my last life, however, there are still quite a few adolescent girls who secretly harbor feelings for me. There's no way, she's just a naive little girl, always easily captivated by a bad student like me. Lu Ruyan was still standing there in a daze. It took me a moment to process it. With his black-framed glasses, he appeared completely dazed. Damn, so cute. I swallowed my saliva, afraid that if I keep looking, it will have the opposite effect. Immediately shake your head. When the old class is so angry that he puffs up his beard and glares. Walk briskly out of the classroom. I'm just not good at studying. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Even though I don't study myself, I shouldn't affect other students' learning, right? As I reached the door, I waved goodbye to the teacher with a calm gesture. No wonder in my past life, I was able to win over Lu Ruyan. My sister is just incredible. I walked out of the classroom with my head held high. The teacher's gaze was like a searchlight, giving me a salute all the way out. I first stopped by the head teacher's office, wandered around a bit, and then covered my face as I walked to the school gate. But before I could step out of the school, I was stopped by the security guard. I looked down and suddenly remembered. I was still wearing my school uniform. I argued with him for a long time, saying a ton of good and bad things, but he just wouldn't let me go. That fork-shaped thing in my hand has been hanging in front of my neck, leaving me with no way out. I glanced at his yellowed fingers, stained by smoke. I quickly pulled a cigarette out of my pocket. I slowly lit it and held it to his lips. Then, taking advantage of his shocked expression, I flicked my wrist and tossed the cigarette butt away. It traced a graceful arc through the air. The cigarette butt landed perfectly on the newspaper on the security desk. Yes, 3 points for the win. While the security guard lifted his teacup, I effortlessly extinguished that tiny flame. When he looked up again, all he could see was the foot odor I left behind as I ran away. I hadn't run far when I turned back to look at the teaching building standing tall among the skyscrapers. I placed my index and middle fingers together on my forehead. Goodbye to my youth. The first step of the OK Moon plan is a complete success. The sky looked like it had been gently brushed with light colors by a painter. The shop by the street flashes open its door. The breakfast stall is steaming hot. The aroma wafts everywhere. A whiff of fragrance hits my nose. My stomach immediately churns. That's when I realize I haven't eaten breakfast yet. I turn my shirt and pants inside out. I only managed to gather $2.50. I was really poor when I was a kid. Never mind. It's more important to get down to business. Before me stands a towering skyscraper. I haven't been back for a long time. For a moment, I can't even find myself. Where was that doghouse from back then? It took considerable effort to dig out a path from that muddled memory. The alley is very narrow. The trees on both sides are particularly lush. The branches of the old locust tree are drooping down. They gently brush against the shoulders of passers-by. That's right, it's this rundown neighborhood. The wall paint is all chipped. You can still see my childhood doodles on it. I hurriedly ran upstairs, looking at that broken wooden door in front of me. I took a deep breath. Then I raised my foot and kicked it. There was a loud bang. I felt a sharp pain in my foot. Ouch, that really hurts. It seems like my leg winced in pain for a couple of seconds. Then I frowned at that door, which although had lost a lot of paint, but the lock was surprisingly sturdy. How did I not notice this solid door before? Luckily, the noise just now woke up the drunk inside. I heard rustling sounds from inside the room. I pressed my tongue against my molars. When the old man opened the door and saw me, his hungover face clearly showed surprise. He squinted and looked at the sky outside. "What are you doing back here?" he asked disdainfully. Then he grabbed a bottle of wine nearby and took a big swig. I glanced around the messy scene in the room. I pushed her away and walked straight into my room. Although my room was also messy, compared to the outside, it could almost be called tidy. I lifted the mattress, and when I reached underneath, sure enough, there was nothing. After all that fuss, it turns out all that money from my past life had already been taken by him to buy drinks. I chuckled self-deprecatingly. As I loosened my grip, the thin mattress sprang back with a bang, stirring up the dust hidden on the bedboard. "You little rascal thought you could hide money at home and fool me." That old guy slumped on the sofa, shoving the obstructive clothes onto the floor, proudly shaking the bottle of wine in his hand. Her flushed face made me feel nauseated. My 10 fingers slowly tightened, until a sharp pain shot through my palm. I only just realized that I had unknowingly walked right up to her. "Get lost. The old man hasn't finished speaking yet." I grabbed her chin with one swift motion. I used quite a lot of force, made him involuntarily open his mouth. His face was filled with shock. Before he could spit out any dirty words, I hesitated not at all. I snatched the bottle of wine from her hand. The action was both rough and direct. The wine in the bottle splashed around violently. Bubbles started to rise. The amber liquid in the bottle poured out like a dam had burst. Without holding back, it all rushed into his mouth. The old man's eyes widened in surprise. He made gurgling sounds in his throat. He wanted to struggle, but he was no match for me at all. In fact, I had been stronger than him for a long time. 我的力气就已经比他大了. Where's the money? You took the money to buy alcohol, didn't you? I asked him in a stern voice. Then I let go of her to give her a chance to catch her breath. You bastard, how dare you treat your old man like this? The old man was so furious, he jumped up off the ground. He raised his hand to slap me across the face, but he had drunk too much. He couldn't keep his balance. With a stumble, he fell back to the ground. The alcohol on his hands was sticky and slimy, and it had that cheap, pungent smell. The smell of alcohol made my stomach churn. I couldn't be bothered to waste any more time with a useless old drunk. I stepped forward and grabbed his hair. I poured all the remaining alcohol from the bottle down his throat. The liquor spilled from the corner of his mouth. It dripped onto his clothes, leaving dark stains all over. At last, the old man realized the difference in strength between us. The instinct to survive overpowered the rage brought on by alcohol. His nails scratched several bloody marks on my arm. Through the old man's bloodshot eyes, I saw a version of myself that was both calm and insane. I lowered my head, forcing him to meet my gaze. My tone was as cold as ice. I'll ask you again, where's the money? The old man looked at me with a very unfamiliar expression. I tightened my grip a little more. Only then did he snap back to reality. His hand instinctively reached into his own clothes. So it's hidden here. I let go of her hair. I yanked his shirt open. Finally, I found those few red bills. There were just a handful of them. I glanced at the scattered bottles rolling all over the floor. A sudden wave of familiar helplessness surged in my heart. That was the cry I let out when I was 18. Because later on, I had long since become numb to all of this. Later, I held a wedding with Lu Ruyan. That old geezer still had the nerve to come and make a scene. I flatly refused him. If others don't know, how could I be unaware of his little schemes? That old man is just after the wedding gift money. I stood up and glanced down at him. That old fool who was scratching his head and coughing. Not a second longer did I want to stay. I just slammed the door and left. Let him curse behind my back. I'll just pretend I didn't hear and run away. After a while, the streets started to look familiar. My restless heart finally began to calm down, especially when I looked up at the sky and saw the faint shadow of the moon. That made me feel even more at ease. I stood there gazing at the sky for quite some time. But just as I snapped back to reality, I was pushed down to the ground by a shadow. "Hey, security uncle, why aren't you at the front door? What are you doing here?" The old man didn't say a word, but tightly held me with his arm. A feeling of unease suddenly surged in my heart. He turned his head to the side and glanced at the old classmate's sullen face. Sure enough, it's right there. There was someone standing next to him who also looked quite familiar. Wait for me to be carried back to the school office by those three. I just realized who that person is. Isn't that my grade director? Oh, it's been a long time since we last met. Congratulations, you are simply amazing. The grade director pointed at me for a long time out of anger. Can't even squeeze out a complete sentence. Hearing this name again after so many years, I'm feeling a bit dazed. The old man always talks about dogs. He was still under the influence of alcohol until the day he went to register his household. People are all a bit dazed. In the end, the staff couldn't bear to watch any longer. They just gave me such a name. So after I established a relationship with Lu Ruyan in my previous life, I just shamelessly begged him to give me a new name. He's academically inclined and cultured. It took him several days to come up with the name. Of course, it sounds great, no doubt about it. As for the name Rual, I've long since tossed it aside. I don't know which corner it ended up in. I sat there honestly in front of them, accepting this three-way interrogation, watching the grade director's mouth move up and down. I gradually started to feel a bit confused. My eyelids began to droop. I quietly stifled a yawn. Bored, I turned my head and just happened to catch sight of that old man's huge nostrils. I even smiled at him. Who would have thought his eyes instantly bulged wide? It felt like in the next second his eyeballs were going to stick to my face. I don't even know how long it went on. The grade director, seeing my lack of reaction, wearily picked up his cup and took a sip of water. "I see it's about time. Just stand up from your seat." The piece of paper they placed in front of me. It has been neatly arranged and placed back on the desk. "Director, I have decided to drop out of school." As soon as the words came out, the grade director's eyelids jumped sharply. My gaze is simply full of unspoken emotions. The cup in his hand engraved with "Outstanding Individual." They all made a clanging sound. He suddenly raised his voice. I nodded in response. "Hey, I need my parents' signature for the withdrawal. It's not like you can just grab a piece of scratch paper and write. The two big characters drop out are effective." I nodded as if I understood, though I really didn't. Then at the grade director and the old class. Under the gaze of incomprehensible eyes, with a swift stroke of the pen, I signed the old fellow's name in a flourishing manner. After signing, I pushed the paper in front of them. The two fell silent for a moment. Then my breathing became heavier. I have no mom, and my dad is a drunk who never cares about me. As soon as I said that, their expressions changed immediately. The head of the grade was just about to scold me, but suddenly, they softened. "If you drop out, what do you plan to do afterwards?" "I'll start a business. I already have a direction in mind." They spent a long time talking, but this time, their tone was much nicer than before. But I didn't really take any of it in. It went in one ear and out the other. It seemed like we were at a stalemate. So, being the kind person I am, I took a step back. I took the dropout application from the head of the grade. In their eyes filled with pity, I suddenly seemed to remember something. I slyly licked my lips. Then, with a slide, I directly threw myself at their feet. "Principal, old classmate, please lend me some money. I beg you." No wonder they are considered cultured people. I've never seen such a shameless display before. In the end, it all comes down to my silver tongue. I finally have a small stack of red bills. He walked cheerfully to the school gate. I waved to the uncle who collects scrap. Let him wait a moment. Then, under the watchful gaze of the security guard, I swaggered back into the classroom again. The surprise exam has already been completed. The classmates were chattering and complaining about the questions. The moment the boys saw me enter the classroom, it fell silent for a moment. "Hee-chong, where did you run off to?" A kind person asked me a question. I shrugged indifferently, did not respond to him immediately, but walked to their own seat. "Take off the school uniform jacket. Stuff all the books into the desk. If I really can't fit it all in, I'll just pick and choose." I tossed the relatively clean books that hadn't been used much onto the table. "Kachong, what are you doing?" My classmate in front suddenly spoke up, his tone carrying a kind of gentle unease. Lu Ruyan also stopped writing. She turned around and looked at me with a doubtful expression. I noticed he was still pressing down on a brand new set of papers. He was just like that, both talented and more hardworking than anyone else. I didn't dare to turn back to look at him, under the gaze of the whole class. I honestly said I was planning to drop out. The books on the table were all still new. If anyone needs them, feel free to take them." The scene immediately erupted in uproar. No wonder everyone here is a well-behaved student. To them, dropping out seemed like a fantasy. I ignored the murmurs around me and tied a knot in the sleeve of my school uniform. I just slung this bag of books over my shoulder. Out of the corner of my eye, I can sense Lu Ruyan giving me a disapproving look. I hadn't taken a few steps when I suddenly remembered something. I dashed up to the podium, and with a cheeky grin, I said to everyone, "You are all good students, so make sure to study hard. Don't ever let me become a bad example. Especially you, Lu Ruyan. Just keep being your good student self, and your future will be bright." In my past life, it was him who was persistently attached to her. Though he liked me too, that barrier between us was never broken, until I followed her to the city where she went to college to work, and pursued her for over a year. Only then did we officially get together. Looking back now, it's quite a privilege that she looked down from her heights to notice me. One big reason might be that in the tense and repetitive environment of senior year, suddenly, someone as unruly as me burst in. That youthful freshness was mistakenly taken by him as a vague affection. The top student in the grade, paired with the bottom-tier slacker. This kind of pairing easily becomes the topic of innocent gossip during youth. After I finished speaking and turned around, I saw the teacher looking at me with a pained expression. What can I say? People with such a strong sense of responsibility are like that. Even if I, at the bottom of my class, was about to drop out, she still thought it was a pity. I thought for a moment. When I reached the door, I leaned over to my old partner and quickly said, "In the future, you can freely use me as a negative example in class. I promise I won't sue you for infringement of my likeness." As the teacher frowned, I saw her about to grab a ruler and aim for my backside. I had already predicted his actions. He ran away in a flash. I was carrying a huge bag of books. Just as I reached the school gate, that nimble security guard stopped me. He blocked my way with a stainless steel fork. I waved the leave request in front of him. Then I swaggered out of the school gate. I sold all the books wrapped in my school uniform to the recycling uncle. Looks like this kid won't be studying anymore. I was counting the 28.8 yuan I got in return. The security guard kindly asked me a question. I waved my hand without turning my head and said, "I'm not cut out for it. I'm done." After saying that, I brought my index and middle fingers together and waved goodbye to the school behind me. This was my real farewell. This time I truly cut off the ties with Lu Ruyan from the root. According to his original life trajectory, the two of us probably wouldn't feel anxious about this life anymore, which is quite good. I held the hefty sum of money tucked in my waistband, and I wandered around this city for quite a while. Finally, I found the starting point for my venture. I pulled out a few crisp bills and called out loudly, "Boss, my Moonlight project is officially launching its second phase." That night, I estimated the time and made a trip back home. Sure enough, the old man had run out again to drink and fool around. After tidying up in the house, I left without a second thought. Then I exhaled heavily. I started strolling around the street corners, while also scouting where my business empire should begin. As I wandered, night fell. I munched on a steamed bun, and that's how I settled for dinner. What else can I do when I'm currently broke? Having just wrapped up a site visit, I suddenly hit the brakes hard. I hid behind the corner wall. I waited until I saw Lu Ruyan hurriedly run home with her backpack. Only then did I step out from behind the wall. I stared at her open backpack and the school uniform that had been tugged at. A hint of contemplation flickered in my eyes. Lu Ruyan has always cherished her books immensely. This situation made me frown. I scooped up some dirt from the ground and casually tucked a broken stick behind my waistband. Then I dashed into the alley where she had just come from. As soon as I entered, I ran into 3 blonde-headed boys. Just by looking at them, it was clear they studied even less than I did. I spotted the pink wallet they had thrown on the ground and instantly realized that Lu Ruyan had just been robbed. Damn those 3 scoundrels. The blonde boys noticed me too, discarding their cigarette butts and sizing me up in my school uniform. One of them let out a whistle. Looks like I'm just another target for them. I pulled out the cigarette I forgot to throw away. With a grin, I walked over to them. Just when those punks thought I would back down, I suddenly threw the ash and dirt from my hand. While they were bent over, covering their eyes and cursing, I pulled out the broken wooden stick from behind my waist and swung it at them with all my might. Since I got involved with Lu Ruyan, I haven't fought at all, because my partner doesn't like that kind of thing. After so many years, my skills were a bit rusty. Damn, it really took a lot of effort. I touched the wound on my mouth. I ran all the way to take a shortcut. When I was climbing over the wall, I accidentally stepped on a dog. As a result, that dog chased me down the entire street. But thanks to that, I managed to arrive before Lu Ruyan. I reached the bottom of her building. I casually tossed his wallet onto the path I knew he would definitely take. I saw Lu Ruyan pick up the wallet. Without a second thought, I turned and slipped away. I touched the wound at the corner of my mouth and looked up at the sky, feeling satisfied. With a sense of contentment, I walked away. After my careful calculations, I eventually invested the startup capital in a fork in the road not far from a middle school. This place not only has a large flow of people, but also convenient transportation. Just in case I need to make a run for it, I can always hop onto my little tricycle and leave. However, I never expected to run into my old partner here. I handed him a grilled sausage, specially adding some spice and heat, considering it a thank you for his support as an early investor. Seeing him hesitate, I simply stuffed the sausage into his hand. Then I hurried off to attend to other customers. The crowd came in waves. The little stall that was bustling just a moment ago suddenly became quiet. I glanced sideways at the old man next to me, who looked like he had something to say but held back. He was busy stuffing a starch sausage into his mouth. "Is this what you call entrepreneurship?" Old man cautiously asked, fearing that he might inadvertently hurt my poor pride. His lips were all reddened by the heat of my enthusiasm for the grilled sausage. I was quite composed, but old man's complex expression made it seem like I had done something shameful. "Don't be fooled by the small scale of my stall. I actually earn quite a bit in a day. I can pay you back soon." As I spoke, I smacked my lips. "No wonder you're the future leader of the snack industry. This starch sausage tastes amazing." Old man wiped the sweat from his forehead caused by the spice, shook his head dismissively, and after hesitating for a long time finally asked what was on his mind. "Are you really not planning to continue your studies? What good would it do anyway? With my poor grades, I can't even find a job. I might as well come out and do my own thing earlier." I continued to clean the grill, looking at the empty stalls. I couldn't help but wonder, this time of day is usually peak hours. Why is no one coming my way today? As I was pondering this, I wiped the grease off my hands and continued. "The biggest problem is I can't pay my tuition. I had secretly saved up money from washing dishes, foolishly leaving it at home, but it all got taken by that old man. In my past life, I still held on to the idea of being a student, even though I clearly couldn't focus on learning. I still wanted to stay in school. This had me worried sick. This time around, I finally figured it out. I've let go of everything." I wiped my face and looked down at what I was wearing again. Then I glanced at the students around me who kept sneaking looks this way, and I was even more puzzled. Why aren't they coming over? I was just pondering that. I accidentally glanced at the old teacher beside me, who was pouting and expressionless. I instantly understood where the problem lay. I didn't care whether he liked it or not. I just directly shoved a sausage into his hand. He chonged, "If I don't take it, you won't either. Then I won't have any business at all." The old teacher still didn't get my meaning, until he saw a large group of students suddenly swarm over. Only then did he realize. It turned out that his authority scared these kids. Indeed, students are naturally afraid of teachers. Finally, more customers arrived. I was frantically collecting money. I was so busy I could hardly keep up. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the old teacher still standing there. So I casually asked, "How did everyone do on the last quiz?" "Oh, pretty good. Everyone maintained well." Hearing that I still care about my classmates, the teacher's expression looked particularly pleased. The starch sausage in his hand was raised high. I felt a little moved inside. I didn't expect the teacher was still thinking of helping me recruit students. I casually asked again, "It's still Lu Ruyan, right? What else is there to say? Lu Ruyan has to be first. It's a sure thing." The teacher's tone was full of pride. I couldn't help but nod in agreement. That's right, Lu Ruyan has always been so outstanding. If in her last life she hadn't married me and hadn't been burdened by me and the kids, she should have been standing at a high point, an existence that many would look up to. The oil sizzling on the grill made a crackling sound. The splattering oil droplets were a bit hot to the touch. I looked at the dark mass in front of me. The student suddenly realized, "Today isn't the weekend. Don't you have class today, old classmate? I saw that you were a bit overwhelmed by being alone, so I reached out with my free hand to help you collect the money." "No, the senior year is organizing a mountain hike today. We just got back from it." I just walked a bit faster. As he spoke, he couldn't help but express his feelings. The physical fitness of these students nowadays is really lacking. They walk slower than this old man here. As soon as I heard this, my heart sank. A sense of foreboding arose within me. I raised my eyes and saw old classmate. He was cheerfully waving at someone in the distance. The oil from the sausage in his hand dripped down the skewer. It got all over his hand. Looking in the direction he was pointing, a long line of students appeared in my sight. With just one glance, I locked my eyes on Lu Ruyan in the crowd. He was quietly chatting with his classmates beside him. A hint of shy smile was on his lips. His expression was unusually relaxed. I quickly lowered my head and busily focused on my work, until a customer impatiently called out to me from the stall. I buried my head even deeper. I could almost wish to dive straight into the grill. Sigh, the classmates are all coming over this way. Old class's loud voice shouted out. It instantly attracted everyone's attention. I shot him a sideways glance, gritting my teeth, only to find him smugly raising his eyebrows at me. Hey, isn't that Chong? Long time no see. Yeah, it's a bit odd without you in class. Hee hee, I forced a standard business smile on my face. That was about as polite as it could get. With me being the tail-end Charlie, the average score has probably gone up a lot. Old class gave my shoulder a hard pat. Then he waved his hand with great dominance. Today, I treated the whole class to grilled sausages. I packed as much as I want to eat, and I'll take it myself. Just tell Chong. Wow, old class is mighty. Thank you, Teacher Lau, and thank you, classmate Chong. Someone in the crowd suddenly shouted this phrase. The results drew waves of gratitude for my voice, one after another. Not sure about the situation, right? They probably think I donated a building to the school. I stole a glance at Lu Ruyan. He was looking around with a hint of curiosity. I quickly redirected my gaze. Then facing those youthful and tender faces, break into a big smile. Don't be so formal, we're all classmates. Where can I get your money? All free. Take as many as you want. Wow, you are so cool. Yeah, people are just too nice. The old teacher next to me was about to say something. I was quick-witted and snatched the sausage from his hand. I shoved it into his mouth. The students were both enthusiastic and a bit shy. Those with money insisted on giving it to me. No matter how I tried to stop them, I couldn't. Those without money looked greedy, but were too embarrassed. In the end, I had no choice but to put my money bag away. I handed the sausages directly to them one by one. For those who were really too shy, I just shoved the sausage straight into their mouths. Simple and efficient. To be honest, even though I'm not good at studying, I have a pretty good impression of students. Their minds are simple, and they don't have bad intentions. Even with the old teacher helping out beside me, I was still busy to the point of flying around. I focused on the one on the far right, carefully picking up the golden, crispy sausage. First, I brushed on a layer of ketchup, sprinkled just a tiny bit of chili powder on top. Lu Ruyan, this one is yours. When his name rolled off my tongue, I felt my heart surge with warmth. Lu Ruyan looked a bit surprised, her eyes sparkling with a smile as she took the sausage from my hand. She actually can't handle spicy food, but she always can't resist the temptation. In my last life, I used to go out to eat with her, and she would always order one spicy and one non-spicy dish. Wow, Lu Ruyan, this round of grilling is just too perfect. Is it really, Lu Ruyan? The moment she took her first bite, the chili powder made her squint. She even instinctively stuck out her tongue. I pretended to be surprised. Oh wow, Lu Ruyan, looks like you have good luck, thanks. Lu Ruyan's eyebrows instantly relaxed. Like a blooming flower, the eyes behind her glasses sparkled with a glimmering light. In my last life, I really loved teasing her. He always secretly took off her glasses when she was tired from studying. Then he would kiss her brows and eyes. Looking into her hazy eyes, he held her tightly in his arms. At this moment, Lu Ruyan was very happy. But whenever her light touched me, it felt like being burned, and she quickly withdrew. A few times, good fortune quietly crept up behind his ear. He glanced down at himself, and then realized he was wearing a white tank top today. He casually tied a long-sleeved shirt around his waist. The outline of his chest muscles was a bit obvious, and the grease stain on his belly made the shirt stick to his skin. But this is also a part of business competition. If it weren't for this outfit, my business wouldn't be better than the nearby shops. Lu Ruyan needs to study hard. Hearing my words, she looked up and smiled at me. That smile was faint, carrying a sense of polite detachment. After that, I kept my head down and worked. I didn't dare to look up again until the teacher glanced at the clock, leading the group to leave. Only then did I lift my head, longing to trace the silhouette of Lu Ruyan with my eyes. Her ponytail was held high, radiating confidence all over. You couldn't tell she was once the shadow plagued by postpartum depression. In my past life, I struggled to find decent work because my education level was too low. So I went to the city where Lu Ruyan attended university, setting up a stall to run a small business. The top student in her class, and the bottom student in mine. This kind of story sounds romantic, but in reality, nobody believed we could last. Even I often feel insecure, because Lu Ruyan is just too outstanding. She always comes to help at my stall after class. When she encounters classmates from school, she confidently links her arm with mine, introducing me as her boyfriend. I know that even if they don't say it out loud, they must be thinking, what a beautiful flower stuck in cow dung. Lu Ruyan herself doesn't care about these things, but I don't want her to suffer because of me. I work several jobs a day, scrimping and saving desperately. Lu Ruyan is very perceptive, noticing that something is off with me, so she asked her family for some money. I don't know how she convinced her family, but when I saw her red-rimmed eyes, I gritted my teeth. swearing that I would never let her suffer alongside this poor guy. I used all my savings from my part-time jobs, in addition to the money provided by Lu Ruyan's family, acquired a bankrupt factory. I am preparing to start a complete business for making starch sausages by myself. In those years, Lu Ruyan often said that I was living too hard. I feel heartbroken for you, but I don't feel anything at all. On the contrary, it feels like life is becoming more hopeful. That belongs to me and Lu Ruyan. Our hopes for the future. I didn't expect that with this effort, I would actually achieve some recognition. Later, Lu Ruyan pursued her master's degree. His tuition fees and the initial costs that are needed. Self-funded research expenses. It's all from our joint card. Our days are going particularly smoothly. Lu Ruyan and I got married when she was pursuing her master's degree. The property certificate lists only his and his parents' names. Anyway, I only have one old thing over here. He can't get away with it for cheap. Just when Lu Ruyan was about to start her direct broadcast, she found out she was pregnant. This is the fruit of our love. After discussing with me, Lu Ruyan decided to have the baby. She began to prepare for the childbirth at home. Naturally, the gambling issue was put on hold. My factory also faced problems due to those so-called starch sausage material issues online. Products couldn't sell and piled up in the warehouse. During that time, I was almost going crazy with busyness. Lu Ruyan often felt sad for not being able to contribute to the family. She would secretly cry alone without me knowing. Later, Lu Ruyan gave birth to our daughter, but she developed postpartum depression. It was then that I truly realized how terrifying mental illness could be. I regretted countless times as her husband, wondering why I couldn't notice it sooner. Even though Lu Ruyan was still so considerate, always wearing a smile on her face to avoid worrying me, I knew in my heart it was all just a forced smile. The factory's changes left him powerless. Academic research was forced to come to a halt. As a new mother, she was left at a loss. All the responsibilities piled on her, forcing her to become a housewife like Lu Ruyan. He was such an excellent person, yet he was helplessly trapped at home, like a rose blooming in its prime, withering away day by day. I thought about it for a long time and finally understood. The bright moon hangs high, a clear expression. Someone as wonderful as Lu Ruyan should never be bound by family. She shouldn't be shackled as a wife. She should be Lu Ruyan, and only Lu Ruyan. She shouldn't be anyone's wife or mother. Though the stars fade into the horizon, the moon laments its high position, unattainable for Lu Ruyan. From the very beginning, she should not have been delayed by someone like me. The figures of my classmates gradually faded away. I stood still, watching them. Vibrant figures passing by. "Boss, give me a sausage." A customer handed over $3. I eagerly took it and asked him what flavor he wanted. As usual, I was busy like this until it got dark. Just as I was about to wrap things up, I saw that old man approaching with a bottle. He came over here with a furious look and took a big swig from the bottle, as if he was boosting his own morale. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. I really didn't expect this drunkard, who's usually out cold, to actually find this place. What surprised me even more was that he showed up so late. That old dog. "Did you really sell off stuff from your home? Am I not giving you face?" He pressed one hand on my little tricycle. It looked like he wanted to tip over my beloved ride. What a joke. You can't possibly think that just because he's here, I wouldn't dare to hit him. That's just ridiculous. The one thing I regret the most in my past life is not dealing with him sooner. I grabbed her wrist firmly and suddenly flipped it upwards. That old fool cried out loud in pain right away. I then easily pulled him aside, not completely letting go. "I'm using some things right now, aren't I? Besides, some of those things were bought with my money." The old fool couldn't break free from my grip. His eyes were darting around suspiciously. It was clear he had no good intentions. And sure enough, the next second he flopped onto the ground, starting to throw a tantrum. "Oh help, an ungrateful son is hitting me. Everyone, come quick. Come see, my son is hitting me." His hands were flailing wildly in the air, and his legs were kicking around on the ground. The dust on the ground was kicked up everywhere by him. It stuck to his wrinkled clothes that smelled rotten. Some people around looked surprised, some felt sympathy, while others were indifferent. They just watched the scene unfold, but no one dared to step in. I quietly watched his performance, observing this absurd farce before me. Last time when my factory had an accident, this old man desperately came to find Lu Ruyan, dragging him around in public, acting like a fool, just to swindle some money for a drink before the factory went completely bankrupt. Although Lu Ruyan had heard me talk about how shameless this old man was, she never knew he could be such a scoundrel. I still remember Lu Ruyan back then, when her health had finally shown some improvement, taking the child out. But instead, she was pointed at by those clueless people around her, and she looked so helpless at that moment. Before she married me, Lu Ruyan has always been praised as the center of everyone's attention. She has never experienced such humiliation of being watched like a circus act. In my ears are the curses from that old man. His shameless face is infuriating. It completely overlaps with the memories of my past life. A wave of irritation surged in my previously numb heart. I suddenly grabbed his collar and lifted him off the ground. My eyes were filled with bloodshot veins. I warned him to try causing trouble again. The bigger the commotion, the better. It would be perfect to let everyone see. You, the drunken father, who has never cared for me a single day. I was nearly shouting. I poured out all the suffering that I endured in both my lives because of this so-called biological father. I yelled it all out. All the money my mom left behind was spent by him on drinking and gambling. I've survived until today thanks to the kindness of my neighbors. If you never raised me, don't expect me to take care of you in your old age. If you dare to appear in front of me again, I'll report you. Don't forget how much money you took from me. The old man was stunned by my words. People around him started to point and whisper. As soon as I let go, he crumpled back to the ground. But just as I turned around, I heard the sound of glass shattering and the surprised gasp of a bystander. The old man grabbed a piece of the broken bottle and lunged at me, but I just stood there, frozen, staring into his frenzied eyes, feeling nothing but a deep sense of weariness. I'm really tired of this life. It has no meaning at all. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to die. This way, Lu Ruyan's life could truly become two parallel lines that never intersect with mine. Amidst the crowd's shocked screams, before my eyes, the figure of Lu Ruyan from my past life suddenly appeared in a daze. That was after I finished telling her about my situation. A life like that of a rat in a gutter. He just held my face in his hands, forcing me to look into his eyes. He spoke to me so seriously, word by word. Don't let others interfere in your life. You should have your own way of living. Even mud can be used to plaster a wall. Then he kissed my brow and eyes. Tell me in the softest voice, my love, you are not a bad person. The body's reaction is faster than the brain. I instinctively took half a step back. It's like Lu Ruyan from my past life gave me a push from behind. Error. Warm blood flowed out, this touch of red. It seems that the alcohol in the old man's head has dulled some of his rationality. Taking the upper hand, he trembled and let go of the bottle. The eyes are filled with fear. I couldn't help but let out a sneer. This scoundrel, who even avoids his relatives, would actually have a day when he's afraid of me. What is he afraid of? Afraid that I'll send him to the police? I covered my bleeding arm, looking at him coldly with my eyes downcast. It felt like I didn't feel any pain at all. I opened my slightly pale lips, giving him a final ultimatum. I'll say it one last time. Don't ever show up in front of me again. Otherwise, along with this instance of intentional injury, I guarantee you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. The old man nervously swallowed. The smell of alcohol mixed with blood made me feel nauseous. Get lost. Can't you see they've already called the police? My few kind reminders only scared the old man into fleeing in a panic, not even daring to look back. I cleaned up all the broken glass shards on the floor. I threw them all into the trash can. Then I hopped on my little tricycle and left. That old fool is really both silly and naive. I was just scaring him. These people around here have no connections to me. Who would call the police for no reason? After all, this is a family matter. I made a trip to the hospital. I had my arm wound treated. But as soon as I smelled the disinfectant, I felt an indescribable change in my heart. In her past life, Lu Ruyan suffered from postpartum depression. She wouldn't admit to having any psychological issues, so I had to run to the hospital every few days. After going so many times, I even shamelessly asked the doctor for their WeChat. The doctor told me, no matter how much family members care for a new mother, it's still very easy to develop postpartum depression because giving birth causes significant physical depletion and fatigue for women. After giving birth, one has to take care of the newborn immediately. Both physically and mentally, I am particularly weak. The care and attention from family members, sometimes it may not necessarily fill the gap for the mother. Emotional and psychological void. If the mother does not receive enough social and emotional support, it's easy to feel lonely and helpless with a sense of frustration inside. Every time I think about these things, I just want to slap myself twice. Is this how you act as a husband? What a bastard. It could be as fleeting as smoke. She is sick herself, but still always comforts me. You said you can understand the hardship of me running back and forth. My wife, my lover. Damn, how can this person be so nice? I rushed out from the medical field, finally returned to my new home under the bridge. As soon as I saw the dog poop in that shabby tent, I couldn't help but come out at that moment. I let out a stream of curses pointing at the sky and the ground. I'm really fed up with this. Usually I joke about it being a doghouse, but I didn't expect it to really have a dog-like nature. It came here to take a dump. While I was cursing and tidying up the bedding, I lay on the bed, looking through the tent roof. The makeshift skylight I dug out myself. gazing at the moon in the sky. "O moon, O moon, O moon, I beg you to bless my beloved. May she live a safe and sound life. May she face no disasters or difficulties." In the days that followed, besides dealing with the head of my grade and my old class teacher, I ran into Lu Ruyan once by chance, but I never saw her again. After that, once the college entrance exam was over, I bumped into Lu Ruyan again, coming to my stall for a photo. At that moment, I was so startled that I immediately changed my spot to set up the stall. I kept hiding until he went out of town for college. It's really good that we haven't run into each other again. Lu Ruyan's brilliant life is finally about to begin. Days pass by like this, one after another. The valley is far from the last time I saw Lu Ruyan. It has been 2 years, 3 months, and 5 days. Well, to be honest, I don't want to remember this day myself either. But who says we aren't gifted? The date automatically pops up in his mind. I once thought I had awakened some incredible talent. I borrowed a middle school student's review materials. Goodness, everything went dark. Sure enough, I am still not cut out for studying. "Boss, give me a grilled sausage." It's the same familiar business again. I quickly add more spice and heat. One hand collects the money while the other hand's over the grilled sausage. Looking at the old classmate choking and sobbing from the spiciness, I was laughing while opening a bottle of water for him. "Old classmate, you're amazing. How come no matter where I set up my stall, you can always find me?" These past few years I've been trying to avoid Lu Ruyan. Every time the holidays come, I change locations. But Old Ban always seems to track me down like he has my location. He shows up without fail. Old Ban gave me a triumphant glance. He patted his slightly protruding beer belly with satisfaction. "That's some skill." I chuckled softly while looking at his thinning hair. I couldn't help but remind him, "You're not young anymore. You should eat less of this greasy and salty stuff. Watch out for high blood pressure." But she waved her hand dismissively. I could only shrug helplessly. After sending off another customer, I pulled out a small red velvet box from my pocket. Old Ban's eyelids twitched. His eyes sparkled with uncontainable excitement. "This one isn't for you. Wasn't there a teacher's day recently? I was afraid my poor performance would embarrass you, so I didn't show up. A gift always has to be made up for." "Oh, you child. Look at how you say that." Old Class tossed the bamboo stick he was holding. He rubbed his hands on his clothes vigorously. Only then did he accept my gift, a pen. "Hey, I like this." Old Class was so pleased. Even the sparse hairs on his head seemed to be dancing. I was puzzled. "It's just a small gift. Is it really worth making her this happy?" "What? Do the other students come empty-handed to see you?" "No way. But having this intention is worth more than anything." I pretended to be casually wiping the grill and smoothly shifted the topic to Lu Ruyan. As soon as Lu Ruyan was mentioned, Old Class's excitement for his proud student came back immediately. "Lu Ruyan, I heard he's doing really well in college." "Oh, that's definitely the case. Lu Ruyan is so outstanding. She excels at everything." He, of course." The teacher kept flipping that pen back and forth. Finally narrowing his eyes, he stared intently at the English on the barrel. His tongue twisted around in his mouth several times, but he couldn't pronounce a single proper word. I really don't understand why a math teacher would struggle with a few English letters. I noticed the teacher suddenly turn around mysteriously. He was behind me, fiddling with something. She wouldn't be crying from being touched, would she? I was just about to say a few comforting words to her, when he suddenly turned back like he was electrocuted. He was holding something like a hot potato. "Why is this pen so expensive? Are you crazy? Hurry and return it." The teacher was clutching his phone in his right hand. The screen still lit up with the shopping app. He was flustered, trying to stuff the pen back into the box. "I've tried several times, but still couldn't get it right." "Just take it. You know I haven't just been running a stall all these years. I've relied on the experience from my past life. Besides selling sausages, I've also dealt in some other things. You could say I'm way ahead of the market. I saved up a good amount of money early on. I secured a spot locally. It's like I'm retracing the path to wealth from my past life. Now, coming out to run a stall is purely a personal hobby. Besides, my old boss has been supporting my business through thick and thin these years. His little stash has really taken a hit. After a lot of persuasion from me, my old boss finally felt justified in pocketing the pen. "Thanks, He-chong." I helplessly curled my lips. I corrected him once again. "I've told you many times to call me Hirua. Don't call that rustic name anymore." Old buddy Masa, with a pen in his pocket, pouting and shaking his head while mumbling, "Oh, He-chong, Hirua." Listening to his sarcastic tone, I couldn't help but roll my eyes at him. My old partner plopped down on the flower bed behind me, chit-chatting with me aimlessly. "What made you think of such a literary name? I never realized you were so cultured before." "Hee, isn't this name nice?" In my past life, Lu Ruyan gave me the name He-chong Hirua. Damn, just hearing it sounds so cultured. Old buddy first nodded. After hesitating for 2 seconds, he shook his head again. "Why does it sound like you know me so well? Are you a local? You have an accent when you speak. I couldn't help but turn around. I looked at the boss in surprise. It made him a bit uneasy. How could he know that in my past life, I was attached to Lu Ruyan? Give me a nice name. He pondered for several days, gave me several options. This name, Chong, was originally meant to tease me, because I never let her worry about anything. So she often patted my head. She said Ru Yin is unaware of the pain of separation. But I know all the worries that Ru Yin has in her heart. That's why I immediately took a liking to this name. Could it be that among scholars, there's really this kind of tacit understanding? I looked at the sky, decided to pack up right away. I brushed the remaining few sausages with sauce, packed them up, and handed them to Old Ban. This is my gift for the teacher's wife. Without waiting for Old Ban to pull out money from his pocket, I've already gotten into my beloved car and sped off like the wind. I stopped the car by the bridge and rummaged through my bag to find a pack of dog food I just bought. Actually, I've moved out from under the bridge a long time ago, but there are some things I didn't need to throw away, like the sheets and blankets I kept, so I just built a doghouse there. I was about to call my dog team at the top of my lungs, but before I could reach the doghouse, I saw a figure I had been longing for. Standing there, oh my God, how could Lu Ruyan be here? I was startled and quickly hid behind a tree. Lu Ruyan took off her glasses just like in the past and straightened her hair. She looked stunning, practically glowing. Lu Ruyan, please don't be sad. Uncle will definitely be fine. Only then did I notice Lu Ruyan standing next to her. There's a girl still standing there, squatting down with him to play with a puppy. Hey, isn't that a familiar face? It's her good friend. I remember she's a novelist. I was so focused on Lu Ruyan earlier that I didn't even notice her. Lu Ruyan lowered her head, a faint sadness flickering across her face. Before she knew it, tears were welling up in her eyes. The slight furrow of her brows almost broke my heart. I slapped my own forehead, desperately trying to recall what happened at this time in my last life. What on earth happened to my esteemed father-in-law? In my last life, Lu Ruyan suddenly took a long leave from school and rushed off without explaining anything to me. At that time, my factory was just getting off the ground. He insisted that I keep an eye on things and wouldn't let me go back with him. I had no choice but to transfer all the money I could move from my phone and card to Lu Ruyan. Later, after my repeated questioning, he only told me that his dad hurt his leg. Lu Ruyan's parents are both ordinary workers at a factory. His dad climbs up and down every day, which is how the accident happened. I furrowed my brows tightly, my fingers digging into the tree bark. Lu Ruyan shook her head. She patted the little dog's head. Sighing, she left with her best friend. Her shoulders seemed to droop a bit. I waited for several minutes. Only when I was sure they had walked far away did I dare to come out from behind the tree. As soon as I saw this old acquaintance of mine, the dog team immediately surrounded me. I absent-mindedly poured dog food into the bowl. I reached out to pat the little dog's head. It seemed to still have the imprint of Lu Ruyan's palm on it. In my past life, my esteemed father-in-law, even if he broke his leg and the medical bills were so high, he still wouldn't touch the money I gave to Lu Ruyan. He was afraid that using my money would make his daughter feel inferior in front of me. My lover is so wonderful. His parents are just as great. In the end, I still hid it from Lu Ruyan. I secretly called my father-in-law. I told him I was there to pay back the money. It was to repay the amount Lu Ruyan borrowed from them back then. I even forged a promissory note with interest, under my various solemn guarantees. My father-in-law finally nodded stiffly. Before hanging up, he didn't forget to warn me not to bully his daughter, or else she would break my legs too. My in-laws are honest people, the kind that would rather sell their possessions than ask relatives or friends for help. Thinking of this made me rub my head in frustration. Oh, my dear father-in-law, I really like her so much. I suddenly slapped my forehead and immediately called the factory. I explained everything clearly. Then I quickly hopped on my beloved bike and rushed to the supermarket. I picked several expensive yet subtle gifts. I headed straight to my old teacher's house. Next came a perfectly executed slide on my knees. With my hands full, I held the items tightly in each hand. I clung tightly to my teacher and his wife's legs. And I didn't forget to politely greet their son. I may not have many strengths, but I do have thick skin. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to win over Lu Ruyan in my past life. As soon as I finished my request, my teacher immediately scrunched his nose. The nervous expression on his face disappeared in an instant. He gave me a speechless look. He said, Chong, just say it directly next time. You scared me to death. With your dramatic approach, I thought you were asking me to help you embezzle money. If this works out, my lovely father-in-law, your son-in-law won't let you down. Your son-in-law from your last life has come to save you from water and fire. I brought the gifts and fresh items just taken from the factory. The various sausages that came out are all left at Old Ban's house. When I was leaving, I looked at the old teacher's little grandson. He kindly said, "Little friend, you should study hard. Otherwise, you will end up like me." Before I finished speaking, old class kicked me out. The anti-theft door was slammed shut with a bang. I stared at the big Fu character on the door. Once again, I marvel at how kind Lao Ban truly is. Even free negative teaching materials are hard to use. I already said that I don't want his copyright fee, really. Oh, but I'm still a bit worried about Lu Ruyan. Her personality is too strong-willed. I prefer to handle everything on my own. These past few days must have been tough. I use my brain that has never taken the college entrance examination. After careful consideration, suddenly slapped his thigh. She started to loiter at the door of her friend's house, who was on a break from school. I knew her best friend was a homebody in my past life. I didn't expect her to take it to this level. I squatted there all day just to see her come downstairs. I immediately pulled up my jacket zipper and buried half my face in it. I lowered my head and pretended to play on my phone. Wow, the amusement park has free balloons. You can even ride the Ferris wheel for free. Wow, this kind of luck probably only happens once in a lifetime. Seeing her best friend's cold expression, there was no reaction. I quickly slipped into the hallway. I took off my jacket, turned it inside out, and put it back on. Luckily, I was smart enough to wear a reversible top. I jogged over to her best friend pretending to be just a passerby. "Oh my gosh, the amusement park has free balloons. You can even ride the Ferris wheel for free. Wow, this kind of luck probably only happens once in a lifetime." As soon as I saw her best friend's faint expression, I quickly ducked back into the hallway. I took off my jacket, turned it inside out, and put it back on again. Good thing I'm clever. I specifically wore a reversible outfit. I jogged over to her friend's side, pretending to be a passerby. "Oh my, the amusement park has free balloons. You can even ride the Ferris wheel for free. Honestly, how many times can you have such good luck in a lifetime?" Then I quickly took off my jacket. I pretended to walk past her friend. "Oh my goodness. The amusement park actually has free balloons and a Ferris wheel. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I have to come with my best friend." Just as I was pondering whether to come back shirtless instead, I finally heard her calling Lu Ruyan. "Yin Yin, let's go to the amusement park together. Today, the Ferris wheel is free." It seems Lu Ruyan didn't agree with her. She immediately raised her voice and started to act cute. "Please, Yin Yin, just accompany me for this trip, I beg you." I saw a smug smile on her face. She immediately turned around and went upstairs. Awesome, the plan worked. But I still hadn't gotten over my excitement. A gust of wind blew, and I immediately sneezed. Who the hell is talking bad about me behind my back? I sniffed. I put my jacket back on. According to Lu Ruyan's habit, she usually takes about 35 minutes to do her makeup, so I had plenty of time to leisurely stroll to the amusement park. But just as I settled down, my little tricycle lifted its head, and unexpectedly, I saw her best friend come downstairs in a different outfit. Oh my God, my eyes widened in shock. I could only watch helplessly as she hopped onto a shared bike, taking off before I could. Oh no, I miscalculated, Lu Ruyan. How sad must she be to not even bother with makeup and just head out like that? My heart is about to shatter into pieces. I rolled up my sleeves. Then I started pedaling my beloved bike like crazy until I saw her friend stop at Lu Ruyan's building. I finally dared to breathe a little easier, but my feet still wouldn't stop. Truly deserving of being my trusty steed in the business world. We arrived a good 10 minutes earlier than them. I stood in the middle of the amusement park dressed in a mascot costume. I spotted Lu Ruyan at a glance. She looked a bit thinner than before. Her hair simply tied back. There were still dark circles under her eyes. I charged right over in big strides. I held out a sunflower balloon tightly clutched in my left hand. I handed it to Lu Ruyan. I also remembered to give one to her friend. Lu Ruyan looked very surprised. Her eyes instantly lit up, and her lips couldn't help but curl into a slight smile. At least I don't look as miserable as before. Thank you. She politely accepted the balloon and said thank you. Then she walked past me. Her excited best friend shook her arm. "See, Yin Yin, I told you there would be free balloons. Come on, let's go quickly. The Ferris wheel is free too." I pretended to hand out balloons, keeping a moderate distance behind them. I listened to her friend constantly comforting her. "Yin Yin, stop frowning all the time. Didn't we already resolve Uncle's medical bills? Heaven still looks after you. Who would have thought that the sausage your teacher brought could actually win a grand prize? Yeah, but I still feel like this is unreal. What's there to fear? The money has already come in. The money is real, though." Lu Ruyan smiled faintly, tying the sunflower balloon to her wrist. "You're right to say that. Heaven really is favoring me." After hearing their conversation, the balloon in my hand just happened to deflate. My heart finally settled back in my stomach. Old Ban really handled this well. Hee hee, to come up with such a clever plan to turn the tables. I'm simply a genius. but I had barely basked in my pride for a few seconds when Lu Ruyan and her friend had already arrived at the Ferris wheel. While they were waiting in line, I stood behind them, desperately trying to signal the staff over there. When they finally arrived, the staff member who had already collected the money was smiling brightly. He walked over with a spring in his step. "Wow, two beautiful ladies. You are so lucky. You are our 100th guest this afternoon, so the Ferris wheel ride is free." The staff member said this and handed 2 flowers to Lu Ruyan. The sunlight filters through the thin clouds, casting mottled shadows, laying a layer of golden veil over the entire ground. He lowers his head and gently kisses the vibrant flower in his hand. The movement is particularly gentle, as if afraid to disturb this gift from heaven. Lu Ruyan's eyes are slightly closed. Her face bears an indescribable peace and contentment. In my previous life, every day when I set up my stall, I would buy a flower for Lu Ruyan, so she wouldn't feel neglected. By the end, the flower shop owner even recognized me. When we bought flowers for our wedding, she even gave me a special discount of 20%. Hee, I picked this flower myself. Lu Ruyan would surely love it. Hee. Lu Ruyan linked arms with her best friend and hopped onto the Ferris wheel. A smile twinkled in her eyes. As she casually glanced around the amusement park, I felt his gaze sweep over. I immediately raised both hands above my head, making a big heart shape. I vaguely saw Lu Ruyan pat her friend's arm, encouraging her to look too. The Ferris wheel slowly began to turn. I tilted my head and quietly watched her, turning round and round. In my past life, Lu Ruyan and I confessed our feelings on this Ferris wheel. "Oh, Ferris wheel, please take away all my lover's troubles." The Ferris wheel gradually came to a stop. Lu Ruyan and her friend walked down hand in hand. The strands of hair at her forehead were gently blown by the wind, blending with the surrounding scent of flowers. As they passed by me, I heard her friend say, "Lu Ruyan, your luck is really great." "Yeah, I think so too." Later, Lu Ruyan played many more attractions. I had been standing not far from them all along, watching them have fun and take pictures. The sun was slowly setting, and the yellow light became softer. The sky was tinged with a faint orange, red, and purple. The light shimmered on Lu Ruyan's dress, constantly changing colors. Fortunately, Lu Ruyan's face was always adorned with a smile. It made it hard for me to stop smiling too. When they got tired and were about to leave, I took out my Polaroid camera, holding up a sign that said, "Free photos, no charge." "Hey, it's you. You're still here." Lu Ruyan looked at me with a smile, pointing at the Ferris wheel, mimicking what I did before, and made a heart shape with her hands. "That's right, I had always been here." I nodded and picked up the instant camera. I took a picture of them. Lu Ruyan held the flower up to her face. The sunlight filtered through the petals and fell on her face. It cast a soft halo around her, making her face appear even more gentle and enchanting. Looking at Lu Ruyan in the camera, my heart skipped a beat. I pressed the shutter. The photo quickly came out. Lu Ruyan still looked so beautiful in it. Postpartum depression is truly tormenting. In her past life, after Lu Ruyan got sick, she would inexplicably scream at a certain issue. Once she calmed down, she would cover her face, cry, and apologize to me. At that time, she smashed all the mirrors in the house because she couldn't accept the person reflected in them. Her figure had changed, and her face looked haggard. Every day, I feel an inexplicable resentment. "Thank you, Lu Ruyan, for giving me a smile." I took the photo in my hand. She huddled with her friend, whispering secrets. I turned around and looked at her straight back. I let out a long sigh. Then I dragged my sore legs. I walked into the staff lounge of the amusement park. As soon as I took off the mascot costume, I collapsed on the floor. I sniffled. I felt like I might be coming down with a cold. My head was spinning. I seemed to hear Lu Ruyan calling my name by my ear. I drowsily opened my eyes. When I saw that the person peeking in at the door was Lu Ruyan, I sprang up from the floor in a rush. I was just frantically picking up the mascot headpiece again when I saw Lu Ruyan walking towards me with a look of surprise. "He Chong, long time no see." When he saw the mascot costume in my hands, the joy in my eyes grew even stronger. "So it turns out you're the one inside that costume. No wonder I felt so familiar." I shook my head in denial on the spot, but before I could say anything, I saw a staff member peeking in through the window. "The costume should be put back in its place when not in use." I'm just working part-time here." I looked at Lu Ruyan's cheerful eyes and couldn't think of any other explanation. I could only nod at her faintly. After putting the costume away, I didn't bother with Lu Ruyan's attempt to continue talking to me. I took big strides and walked away. As I passed by the entrance, I accidentally bumped into her friend's shoulder. "Sorry," I quickly apologized. Then I turned to the side and hurriedly left. Only after walking a long way did I finally dare to stop. Slowly, I crouched down by the wall, wiping away a tear that had escaped. He sniffed suddenly. I sneezed and hurried back home. I don't know how long Lu Ruyan has taken leave, but I still try my best to avoid her. The result is that I haven't set up my stall for quite a long time. The old teacher was so scared that he called me for several days asking me, "Is it already dead?" I really can't stand him. Can't he hope for me a little? Until I sneaked into the hospital. Finally, I waited for my lovely father-in-law to be discharged from the hospital. At that time, I didn't run into Lu Ruyan either. Only then can I feel unshin jishu chutai. The days that followed were quite peaceful. It's also very difficult for me to get any news about Lu Ruyan from Old Ban's mouth. There's no way. The old class teacher really knows nothing at all. My factory is still operating vibrantly. I set up my stall on time every day and close it on time. Then go to the doghouse under the bridge to feed the dogs. Every night, I just stare at the moon and laugh foolishly for a while. Actually, days like this are not that hard to endure. Another 2 years have passed just like that. Lu Ruyan has graduated with a bachelor's degree. She is Lu Ruyan, so excellent from the start. Moreover, this life no longer has my burden. Exactly the same as the last life. He successfully secured a direct admission to the graduate program of his university. Old classmate, you're still coming to take care of my business in this cold winter. You really make me cry. I rubbed my bright red hands, handed a spicy grilled sausage with hemp too. Dad curled up in his padded jacket like a ball, watching her struggle to take off her gloves to scan the code for payment. Of course, I'm already one of your loyal fans. Why don't you say to give me a free pass? Wow, old classmate, do you still need this little bit of money now? The money in your account will all give birth to young ones. Hearing my compliment, Old Ben immediately raised his chin with pride. The moment I took a bite of the grilled sausage, sweat instantly broke out on my face. He ate half a sausage but still didn't say anything to me. Couldn't help but hum a little and spoke first. Why aren't you asking about Lu Ruyan today? My eyes were wide open at that moment. I saw the look on the teacher's face, like he already knew. I glanced around cautiously. Then I pulled him over. I lowered my voice and asked how he knew. And how did I end up knowing? The boss pouted and gave me an eye roll. After all these years, every time you talk, you hint at Lu Ruyan both directly and indirectly. Only a fool wouldn't realize it. As she said that, she rolled her eyes at me again. I'm really afraid that in this cold weather, his eyeballs might freeze. With that little brain of yours from school, you think you can hide your dreams from me? She threw the bamboo stick into the trash can. She started to advise me that Lu Ruyan is still single. If you like her, then go chase her. I shook my head. I stared blankly at the barbecue grill for a long time without saying a word. When I finally snapped back to reality and looked up, I found that no one was there in front of me. That old teacher left without saying goodbye. After I snapped at him, he held a grudge. Is it true that only petty people can save money? I watched the snowflakes fluttering down from the sky. The snow kept falling heavier and heavier. Slowly, the entire world was covered in pure white. The awning over the sausage stall was filled with shiny icicles. I broke off one and played with it in my hand. In my past life, I really liked to use my bloodied hands to poke at Lu Ruyan's face. When she pretended to be angry, I would pull open my down jacket and wrap her in my arms. My fingertips were frozen and turned bright red. The icicle in my hand had melted completely. I reached up to touch the snow-blocking awning. Just as I was about to forcefully pull it down, I unexpectedly saw a familiar face in front of me. Long time no see, Lu Ruyan. She smiled at me with her head tilted in the snow. She tugged at her scarf, revealing her cheeks that were reddened by the cold. In just a few seconds, a light layer of snow quickly settled on top of his head. Lu Ruyan, how come you? I hadn't even had time to be surprised, wondering why he suddenly appeared here. As soon as I saw the snow on her hair, by the time I reacted, he was already holding up that canopy, standing next to Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan looked up at me. Her eyes curved into crescent moons. She was made up and still looked so beautiful. I felt my cheeks getting a bit warm. Damn, it's freezing in this cold winter. Why did you run out without an umbrella? I almost blurted out more. Fortunately, I stopped just in time. I swallowed the words that followed. Lu Ruyan glanced at my blood-stained barbecue plate. Then she looked up at me again. The snowflakes on her eyelashes had melted into droplets of water. She took a step closer to me. I felt my heart skip a beat. I came to thank you. Thank for what? I was momentarily confused. Lu Ruyan took off her scarf and draped it over her arm. This revealed her fair neck. I want to thank the person who helped me get my wallet back. Thank you for going out of your way to bring my dad the medical fees. Thank you for dressing up like a doll to cheer me up. And thank you for sending me flowers. She said a long list in one breath. With each sentence, my heart trembled a little. I didn't dare to look into her eyes. I immediately shifted my gaze away. I stared blankly ahead. Lu Ruyan tilted her head. I accidentally locked eyes with him again. Is that so? You must have mistaken me for someone else. Lu Ruyan, I haven't finished my sentence yet. her best friend suddenly popped out from some corner, holding 2 umbrellas in her hands. Looking like a detective straight out of a story, she smirked with a crooked smile, took out her phone from her pocket. Want to see the surveillance footage from that alley? Want to hear the testimony from the amusement park owner? Or do you want to check Baidu by key? After saying that, she pulled out the timid old classmate next to her, who was shrinking back. Do you need a witness? My mind was buzzing. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I could only watch the old classmate avoid my gaze. Lu Ruyan, you're overthinking it. I just happened to be working there. Oh, come on, you're thinking too much. Her best friend and the old classmate said in unison. Their lips pouted. Her face clearly showed a "I don't believe you" expression. With the two of them making a fuss like this, Lu Ruyan actually laughed. He turned his gaze towards me, staring into my eyes. He said, "Thank you," with each word carefully. I moved my lips for a long time, and finally managed to blurt out in a flustered manner, "That Lu Ruyan, don't think too much about it. I have to go home now." I put the snow-blocking canopy down on the ground and turned to sneak away, but then my wrist tightened, and Lu Ruyan caught me. I really can't believe how pathetic I am. He just touched me lightly, and I felt my whole body soften. Damn, her hand feels just as soft as I remember. Lu Ruyan tugged at me hard several times. Realizing she couldn't pull me at all, her brows furrowed slightly. She simply walked right up to me. Oh, he pouted a bit unhappily. He looked a little disappointed. I clearly wanted to pull my hand back, but my left arm felt unresponsive. I just couldn't muster any strength. Just then, Lu Ruyan suddenly looked up, her toes lightly lifted. Her sparkling eyes were fixed on me. Do you want to try dating me? That straightforward question made me momentarily stop breathing. I wanted to refuse, but my head felt incredibly heavy. I could barely move. I guess I caught another cold. I haven't figured out how to say it yet. Lu Ruyan's eyes dimmed once again. Based on my past experiences, I know Lu Ruyan is just pretending to be pitiful. Usually, during such times, I would pinch her cheeks, and then laugh and surrender. But that's all in the past now. I looked at Lu Ruyan in front of me, wanting very much to call out her act, but my throat felt blocked, and I couldn't get a single word out. Lu Ruyan clasped her hands together. Her carefully groomed face seemed to grow larger in front of my eyes. Please, don't refuse me just yet. We can start by getting to know each other. She didn't give me a chance to speak at all. After saying that, she reached out a hand toward me. Hello, I'm Lu Ruyan. I could feel my hand hanging by my side shaking. In the end, old classmate just couldn't take it anymore. He quickly walked over to my side and grabbed my hand. He placed it right on Lu Ruyan's hand. Under Lu Ruyan's expectant gaze, I felt a tightness in my throat and spoke up. I'm He Rual. He Rual is such a nice name. Of course, my beloved gave it to me. Damn, I'm really quite pathetic. Lu Ruyan just moved a bit closer to me, and my mind went completely blank. What's more, he even smiled at me. Damn, this is simply a beauty trap. I admit defeat. This trick really works. I had been dodging for quite a while, but in the end, old classmate couldn't stand it anymore. He gave me a slap on the head. What the hell are you so worried about, you little rascal? Yeah, what am I really worried about? I'm worried that I'm just a poor student who doesn't deserve her. I'm worried that I might hold her back from pursuing her academic dreams. I'm worried that Lu Ruyan might suffer from postpartum depression again. After I've finished rambling on about all this, old classmate slapped me on the head again. It made me see stars. Whoever you're dating, you don't have these kinds of problems. I ask you, will being with him hurt her? No. I suddenly looked up. I saw Lu Ruyan slowly walking towards me. It felt like a string in my mind was suddenly plucked. I pushed old classmate away a few steps. I rushed to Lu Ruyan, eager for an answer. Lu Ruyan, do you want to get married? Lu Ruyan's face instantly turned bright red. So beautiful it was breathtaking. Her lips moved slightly, and she whispered that she might. After hearing that, I became anxious. What if she treats you poorly? What if she bullies you? What if you feel uncomfortable during your pregnancy? Lu Ruyan's eyes rolled around. He secretly tilted his head to take a glance. The old man in front of her was making funny faces. Then he quickly nodded with a worried expression. He asked me what we should do about it. Yeah, what should we do? I was so anxious that I rubbed my hands together. Just thinking about Lu Ruyan possibly being bullied by others made me furious. I felt like I wanted to kill someone. A glimmer of cunning flashed in Lu Ruyan's eyes. He took my hand. He asked gently, would you treat me like that? No, I answered firmly. I felt the chaotic thoughts in my head suddenly straighten out. I looked at my reflection in Lu Ruyan's eyes. I sincerely asked him, Lu Ruyan, if you ever want to get married, could you consider me first if you're looking for someone who treats you well? After saying that, I quickly raised my hand and swore, I'll put your name on the property deed. It absolutely won't affect your doctoral studies. Let's wait until you're ready to settle down before we talk about having kids. I swear I'll be right by your side. I won't let you suffer from postpartum depression again. I haven't finished what I was saying. Lu Ruyan blushed and quickly covered my mouth with her hand. What are you talking about? You're already thinking about marriage and kids. She shyly pouted. Leaning closer to my ear, she whispered that if we want to get married, we should start by being boyfriend and girlfriend. I stared intently at the smile at the corner of Lu Ruyan's lips. My heart was racing like a drum. Finally, I heard our class monitor behind me let out a long sigh of relief. Oh my, you're so excited that you've started crying. It wasn't until Lu Ruyan's hand gently touched my eyes that I realized, a moment too late, that my tears had already reacted for me. I stretched out my arms and tightly embraced the one I had been thinking about day and night. What happened next was much the same as in my past life. The only difference was that the process went much more smoothly. 只是过程顺利了太多. In my almost nodding assurance, under the intense pressure of several properties, my lovely father-in-law, although they say they are quite satisfied with me, but I still couldn't help but glare at me with a frown. If this were me, who dares to mess with my family's cabbage? My attitude is definitely worse than his. Lu Ruyan still decided to pursue her master's degree during her studies. Just marry me. She saw through all the unease in my heart. When I toss and turn again, unable to sleep, she held my face. She said to me very gently, I love you, my lover. Damn, who can withstand this? Marriage must be done immediately. The guests I invited on my wedding day. It's basically no different from the last life. I'm here because of that drunken old man. My relatives have long cut ties with my family, not even a phone number. So most of the guests present were my classmates and Lu Ruyan's classmates, and some relatives from my father-in-law's side. All the classmates were surprised beyond belief. No one expected Lu Ruyan, in the end, to be pursued by someone like me, a poor student. But surprise aside, everyone still offered their heartfelt blessings. When Lu Ruyan and I went table to table toasting, I unexpectedly noticed Lao Fanjing sitting alone over there, secretly wiping away tears. I was about to go over and tease him a bit when I saw him gulping down water like crazy. When he spotted me, he immediately said, Can you not put so much chili in the sausages next time? I couldn't help but twitch my lips and could only nod helplessly. Turning my face again, I saw Lu Ruyan's best friend. Her mouth was stuffed full, and she playfully winked at me. I pondered for a moment and moved closer. I gently asked Lu Ruyan while massaging her waist, What genre is your best friend's novel about, Xianyi? Oh, then it makes sense. I wrapped my arm around Lu Ruyan and walked forward. I raised a full glass of wine to her best friend. Even though I took every precaution, Lu Ruyan still ended up getting pregnant. The timing was exactly the same as in my past life. I found it quite strange. I accidentally caught a glimpse of Lu Ruyan with that triumphant little look in her eyes. All right, it's true that no matter how much you guard against it, a home intruder is hard to prevent. Just like in my past life, Lu Ruyan still insisted on having the baby. My lovely in-laws also took turns trying to persuade me. Sigh, it's really making things difficult for me. It's like I'm the villain instead. There was nothing I could do ever since the day I married Lu Ruyan. I've been wary of this situation ever since. I had already moved the factory to the city where he was studying. Everything was arranged perfectly. I felt like a hands-off manager, spending all day at home studying recipes, delivering meals to Lu Ruyan on time every day. Later, I accidentally found out that the people in their studio secretly called me the 24-karat good husband. Wow, that's quite a title. It would be perfect if they gave me a certificate too. I'm really afraid that if I'm not careful, Lu Ruyan might fall into postpartum depression like in the past. I even went to my in-laws' house to throw a fit. In the end, they were so embarrassed by me that they agreed to move in with us, to live with us. I even secretly took their phones and muttered to the screen several times. Postpartum depression, big data. This thing is indeed powerful. That day they browsed short videos and came across related content. Under the intense scrutiny of the whole family, Lu Ruyan smiled especially brightly every day. It was a smile that came from the heart. I even added the psychologist from my past life on WeChat. Every day, I secretly reported Lu Ruyan's latest situation to him. Luckily, the doctor always said everything was normal until Lu Ruyan gave birth. There were no signs of any issues from my past life. That's great. My love is safe and sound. Lu Ruyan came out of the delivery room. When she woke up and opened her eyes to see me, she let out a giggle. I was startled and quickly reminded her to be careful with her wound. I gave birth. Why are your eyes so puffy from crying? Lu Ruyan gently touched my swollen eyes. As soon as she spoke, I couldn't help but want to cry again. The matter of starch sausage ingredients in this life is the same as in the previous life. It's still causing quite a stir. Fortunately, I have experience. I directly take the entire production line from procurement to processing in the factory. Complete transparency. The result is that the raw materials are indeed clean. Instead, it sparked a small fire. Oh right, there's that old thing too. In this lifetime, Lu Ruyan gave birth to a child. I stay by her side 24 hours a day. She happily hugs her daughter every day. That old guy never had a chance to get close to Lu Ruyan. The most crucial thing is that I was rarely clever once back then. After he stabbed me, I immediately went to the hospital for an injury assessment. That old thing poked its head out once later. As soon as he showed up, I slapped the injury assessment report in his face. I threatened to call the police, scared her so much that she would never dare to show up again. I bought a bouquet of sunflowers from the flower shop. I bought a pot of cactus for my daughter as well. I didn't expect to walk out of the flower shop and see Lu Ruyan waving at me with the little girl in her arms. "Baby, look, it's Daddy. Daddy brought us flowers." I smiled widely. I took my daughter from Lu Ruyan's arms, holding the sunflower up to her little face. "Let's head home so I can cook for you too." That night, I fell asleep holding Lu Ruyan. In a daze, I suddenly felt her kiss me. What's going on?" I nudged her with my head. I was just too sleepy. I vaguely heard her whispering in my ear, "I'm sorry for what happened in our past life. You've worked hard running between home and the factory. What happened in the last life?" I yawned sleepily and snuggled closer into Lu Ruyan's embrace, feeling something wet on my face. "You weren't really struggling. You were just sick back then." Lu Ruyan's eyes suddenly felt teary. She looked at her lover, who was sleeping soundly in front of her. Unable to resist, she gently patted her face. This silly person, at the beginning of this life, actually thought about keeping her distance from him. Fortunately, she had good judgment. She stubbornly refused to let go. Whenever she thought about their past life, Lu Ruyan couldn't fall asleep anymore. She quietly climbed out of bed, tucked the blanket around her lover, then sat on the edge of the bed and opened her phone. She looked at the photos taken at the amusement park back then. In almost every corner of the pictures, you could find the figure of a teddy bear. Lu Ruyan flipped through the photos one by one, smiling and smiling until tears flowed down her cheeks. Her finger paused on the last photo, which was taken from a bird's-eye view. The teddy bear in the photo is clumsily making a heart shape. It's no wonder this fool is like this in his life. Still will fall into his hands. The person next to me turned over. The hand reached out and touched nearby. Called out to her vaguely, "I'm here, my wife. I just went to the bathroom." "Oh, come back soon." Listening to his sleep-talking, Lu Ruyan smiled as she wiped away her tears. When I put down my phone, my peripheral vision suddenly caught a glimpse. A corner of paper was exposed from the half-open drawer. It stuck in a book. He instinctively reached out and pulled out the piece of paper. He is wearing a pair of lightweight glasses. The eyes behind the lenses reveal a hint of fatigue. The paper says Moon Project. The first step is to drop out and leave Lu Ruyan's starting point. Start your business as soon as possible. By the time I got to the third part, there was only one dot left. Clearly, this fool couldn't come up with anything. Sigh. Her grades were poor when she was in school. It's tough for him. The paper for the plan was something he casually ripped off from a test paper. The handwriting on it looks like a dog's paw print. Lu Ruyan shook her head and smiled. She stuffed the things back in place. Then she crawled back into the blankets. I groggily opened my eyes a slit. Feeling sleepy, I nudged forward again. Then I reached out with my big hand to pull my partner back into my embrace. Hee hee, the moon is back in my arms.